Welcome to this lesson, which is all about Grow Zone 2. And Grow Zone 2 is all about the Freshlife sprouter FL3000, which is made by TriBest. Getting into this living foods, as I have explained in earlier videos, that it took me a bit of a while. My first exposure to living foods was, how could somebody get so excited about these sorts of things? But I do now, which is kind of crazy. So once you get your Freshlife sprouter, you'll get the Freshlife sprouter bottom base. You'll get 2 sprouting barrels, as I call them. You'll have a lid to put over the very top. You'll have a few funny tubes, and you'll have a spindly thing on the top which sprays the water around. And you'll have 4 seed trays or frisbees. So these are all important for your Freshlife sprouter. Inside the Freshlife sprouter, you'll see that there's a pump in the bottom. And that pump is connected to the cable, which is waterproof, and it sort of is housed in this unit here. So what I like to do is, it's always handy to clean inside the pump box. So I do that every time I reset it up. I just pull this out and I give it a scrub inside. So you'll see that there's a pump cover, which is just to cover the pump end. And then there is another cover that goes on. So you'll work out that they all clip together and they all fit nice and neatly. And so the pump is connected to that hole in the base plate, and you can lift it up from there. But that's all in, and it's all secure, ready for the next stage. Now you'll have this part which you push into the hole, and you'll notice that there's a plus and a minus. Now for 2 levels, and it depends how strong the pump is. And what I've watched, because I've watched lots of videos on making sure I do this right, what I've noticed is you just need to make sure that the spindle is turning around. So if you're only using one of these, it doesn't need to be turned up to maximum. But what I've also learned is that some of the pumps, because not every product is going to be 100% exactly the same and operate the same, you just need to make sure that the pressure is enough that spins around once you've got the whole rig set up. So once you've got the base tube in, you'll connect the tubes together so it just finishes at the level of the first barrel. And you can just practice by putting that on there, and it's all nice and solid. And it's all connected in, ready to rock and roll. The next thing, you've got to put the tubes. So you'll get these tubes, and it's important that you put these inside the sprouting barrels. And you'll notice that there are different thicknesses. So you want it to be pretty difficult to push down. Not that it goes all the way through the top layer. So the next thing is how to seed the trays. Now these seed trays, you'll notice that there's 2 levels. You've got a more rigid level and you've got a smoother level. So perhaps the camera might get the fact that they look slightly different. So the smoother, which is smoother to touch, that's the side that you put the seeds. And I've checked this with the manufacturer, and I was doing it the wrong way around for a while. And what happens is, if you seed it like that, the seeds get stuck, and it's a real pain to clean. That's what we found anyway. So seed it so it's the smooth side facing up, and the seeds go onto those trays. So you've got 4 quarters of each seed tray. So I tend to keep the same seed in each quarter, or make a half of the same seed. And the seeds I use are what we call the brassicas, or the short leafy greens. So you've got the mung beans, the lentils, the chickpeas that would grow in the jars, or the easy sprouters. And the Freshlife, I grow the short brassicas. So the first one I'm going to set up today for this demonstration is broccoli is a super powerhouse of a short sprout. So it's like the sprout version of the broccoli is about 20 to 30 times more potent than the fully grown plant. So as well as eating lots of broccoli, I also use a lot of broccoli seed to sprout and eat fresh sprouts of broccoli. So before you seed the trays, it's always good to dampen them off. So you can either use a spray, a water spray, because it just means that the seeds will actually stick to the seed trays and they don't just run off. The other alternative is, of course, you can run them under the tap, which is another alternative. So either or works. So you tend to need, with broccoli, about 2 dessert spoons or 3 or 4 teaspoons, depending on how big your teaspoon is. But just get at least one level layer of broccoli seeds on the tray. So I'll put 2 on there. So, as well as broccoli, use quite a bit of alfalfa, which in this jar I've nearly run out of. So we'll see if we can get at least one tray done. So unfortunately, it's good that I'm showing you just how it happens in real life. So the rest of the alfalfa didn't quite fill the 2 trays, so I'm just going to mix in some broccoli. They grow at the same rate, they're quite good together, so you could mix alfalfa and broccoli seeds. That would be absolutely no problem at all. Okay. So that's seed tray 1. Now you have to carefully drop this down, place this down, should I say, not dropping it, because otherwise the seeds will go everywhere. So with tighter finger squeeze, you let that drop down so the seeds are all still in place. You then place this, the second seed tray, smooth side up, place it down, and it's ready there now to go into position. So we'll seed the second barrel, and in this one I'm going to use clover, some radish, and I'll put some mustard. Now what I've noticed is that mustard takes a little bit longer. The radish will actually grow a lot quicker and be ready in about 5 days. The clover again is 5 or 6 days. This mustard is about at least 6 or 7 to give it a good shooting time. But that's okay. You can either let them all grow together, so these grow extra big, or you can harvest the China rose and the clover a bit earlier. So the mustard seed is done. I'll add 1 clover, quarter, and I'll just spill some occasionally, but that's okay. And because it's one of my favorites, I like a spicy one, is these radish. So either Rambo or Sango radish. And when you start looking for these seeds, these are the main ones that I have used. There are lots of other types and makes of seeds which you can experiment with. But if you get a core system up and running, then that's the most important thing. Is like consistency is key. Is just create new routines and habits. So what you'll notice is these China rose or radish seeds are a lot bigger So I give them a bit more space. And that's the seed tray ready to go into the barrel. Just waiting for one day, I'm just gonna drop that one day. But hey, it doesn't matter. So smooth side up, the seed tray goes in. And the next stage is that we need to add some water into the barrel at the bottom. So without spilling it, you've now got a barrel full of water. You'll be able to feel that there's a ridge. So I fill it up to the bottom of the ridge. So there's about 1.5 inches. Now the other thing I add into this is a few lemon drops. From one of the teachers I've had, a lady called Judy Barber. She's a health educator from Hippocrates. So, and she's had lots of experience with using these and planting. She's a bit more green fingered, or a lot more green fingered than I am. So adding a bit of oil. Now, the instructions say you should rinse this water out and replace the water every day. Now, because I'm all about time and efficiency, I actually do it once every other day. And if I get a chance, I'll do it every day. So just to ensure that is little, because you'll smell it, you know, once you get to day 2 or the end of day 2, you'll start to smell, because the, you know, it's stagnant water. It's passing through, but it's one stagnant water. So it's okay for that. Don't worry about it. Just make sure you're rinsing or changing the water every other day at least, and add a bit of lemon oil or any sort of vegetable type oil into the water. So you put the first barrel on, and in the early days I used to label these, and I used to put the date, and I used to put what seeds they were. But now we're experienced enough that I actually know what seeds are growing, and I know pretty much when I set it, and I know when they're ready to harvest. So I don't need to put labels on here anymore to track what we're growing and how long it's been growing for. Now in the box, you'll also find that there's 4 clips. Now you've got 4 clips that clip on the bottom level, and it just creates a bit of a ledge for the second barrel to sit onto. And then you just have to spin it around, twiddle it around, so the tubes from the bottom all the way up to the top line up. You put your sprinkler head on the top. You place your lid on the roof. You grab the cable. Turn the power on. Now, you'll see in this case, it's not spinning round as fast as it normally would do. Now, could be due to one of a few things. I've not turned the pump up high enough when I put it all back together again, because I don't normally take it apart this much, or there's an air block in it, and that's fine. You just need to turn it off, take the trays off, turn it back on, now I'm just checking. So if I turn it on, that's the low, and if I turn the pump up, that's going to the full setting. You can get a bit wet, it's fine. So we'll reconnect all that up. I've made sure the pump's at the top setting for my particular Freshlife sprouter, and then we're ready to go. And as you can see, it's now spinning round nicely.